Welcome, everybody. This is the Townsend Finance Committee. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 6:08 p.m. this April 30th, 2024. As we have remote members for the Finance Committee, roll call attendance, please.
Carolyn Bezikas here.
Mark Hussey here.
Andrea Wood here.
Dan Grant here.
Hayes here. With that, we have a quorum. We are able to continue. Let's share. We should be sharing the agenda that we have. We were calling the meeting to order. We've done the roll call. This meeting is being recorded for playback at future times on Channel 9. It is also broadcast live, Channel 9, and available on the YouTube channel going forward. At this time, there are no additions or deletions to the agenda. Is there anything that has come up for anybody else in the last 24 hours?
No, not
Okay. Okay. Yeah. With no changes, we'll continue into the work session. The work session, there's supposed to be a joint meeting with Board of Selectmen to discuss the budget. At this time, there is no select board members. Well, let me check. And I do not see any select board members on the Zoom call, and there's nobody in.
I don't think so.
At this point, we'll continue and jump back to the joint meeting if we get members in the room or on the Zoom. So, next on the agenda, we had the reserve fund transfer request.
Is that in the?
It is not part of the.
Okay, I saw it earlier though when you sent it in the.
It was,
Yeah.
I sent an email earlier. It's just been submitted. See if I downloaded it.
Was it insurance?
This is another insurance
Yeah.
prepay. And if we jump over to the reserve fund file on the transfer request log, this one, it would be FY24 RF 009, and it's another $10,000 invoice. Currently, with what we have approved to date, we have $11,669 in the account.
So that leaves us with about 1,000.
It's 1,016. And that tells us that the two that we had on hold facilities, we would definitely not be able to.
What's the issue with facilities still? Is it just paperwork?
No, we held them because they had submitted, it was a total of 26,000.
Yeah.
That sounds high.
It was the boiler and the.
It was the ones we did not.
Yeah.
The generator and the ceiling repair.
Yeah.
So the total for them was 22,400. We approved the first two, which was 15,000.
Mm-hmm.
And we did not want to deplete the reserve fund, so we held on to the other two. If their account was about to go negative, we would have reviewed it again.
Do we know what that is now?
It was about $5,000, and it
Still left,
still left.
but
So
that didn't include these.
it did not include these.
Right.
No, it included these.
Oh, it did. Okay.
Yeah, they have been paid. This would be reimbursement.
I see. I
into
got
the
it. Got
account.
it. Yeah. Yeah.
For those.
And we got minimal time left.
We have, starting tomorrow, we have municipal transfer requests. So we have the next
Okay.
available to us.
Okay.
But that gets us to, the situation, do we want to come down to the, for 16, the 1,669, we probably wouldn't have much of anything we could do
Right.
with that.
Excuse me,
Yeah,
the municipal transfers will be put off a little bit because, until one more selectman gets back in town or can be contacted, because they can't do them with just one member. So the municipal transfers may be off a little bit past the
Mhm.
1st of May.
But I would assume be corrected in a couple of weeks.
yeah, so
I
that,
guess.
Yeah.
I don't.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't think we want to deplete that down that far. That'd be my,
so we can.
if
we
they
can-
could hang on. And what have they got there? Oh, nothing. That's
Yeah,
right.
let me check and
It's the
see.
insurance.
I do see Eric on the line. Eric, I guess if I could, a question to you for, how urgent is, getting this invoice paid for the tribes?
So if the FinCom feels more comfortable holding on for a few weeks before approving it, I don't think there would be a concern.
Mhm.
You know,
Okay,
I understand that rationale, just like you held on to the facilities ones earlier.
Mhm.
As you noted, at this going forward, if we have any other emergencies come in, we do have the ability to make municipal relief transfers to cover emergencies outside of the reserve fund. So
Mhm. Yeah, okay, so we can take this and, put
I
it on
guess-
hold or table it for now. And
Yeah, I guess leaving the money in our account, leaving that $1,000 in our account, it doesn't affect us.
It,
It's just going to come out of a different account.
it needs to come out of a
After.
different account if we, yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
Do we,
Yeah.
but,
how does that, we replenish every year. What does that do? The other account?
the other accounts are similar. It's just like our reserve fund account.
Yeah.
It's a year to year. If any unused
So it's in the
balance,
budget every year.
It's in the
Unused
budget.
balance goes to the, yeah.
unused balance
Yeah.
goes to free cash
Okay.
certification, and then the budgets are
I
reset.
suppose it looks better if we got 10 grand left instead of 1,000, but
But
it means nothing really.
it doesn't mean a lot on the budget, because if it's 10,000 in our account or 10,000 in somebody else's
It looks
account,
like we're more graceful though.
it gives us the ability to react, because as we
Right.
said, if there is an immediate need,
Mhm.
it's better for us to have $11,000
Yeah.
than to be at 1,600
Right.
until we have the full structure that we could get Board of Selectmen and Finance Committee together with quorums and approve.
So maybe we should just table it.
I think we should just table it.
Okay.
I would feel a lot more comfortable if the money for facilities came from a municipal transfer, because like I said, it doesn't really meet the criteria of the reserve fund.
Right.
All it really showed was that facilities is woefully under budgeted.
When there's failures of systems and equipment. Yeah, because when we look at it between the police and facilities, that's been the majority of the transfers this year. We do have a meeting scheduled for Thursday. We can't resolve anything by then, so it would have to be, say, the week after town meeting that we'd get back together to look at it.
I don't have an issue tabling it.
Okay.
Do you need to make a motion?
Yeah, let's make a motion on the transfer fund request in front of us.
All right, I'll make a motion that we table the request that's in front of us right now.
Okay,
Second?
we have a motion and a second to table this, put it on hold for now. Any further discussion? It's on the phone. None being heard. We do a roll call vote, please.
Sharon Bazikas, yes.
Mark Hussey, yes.
Andrea Wood, yes.
Sam Grant, yes.
And Don Hayes, yes. So we have it on our log and ready. We will review it again in our next regular meeting. Thank you for that. Close that. Okay. And at this point, I had on the agenda to review the annual and special town meeting. I know there's a lot of people in the audience.
Sign sheet.
I don't think so. Who?
I was gonna say we haven't. Yeah, I'd say no. We have the online people.
Okay.
It's kind of so I think we'll be all set. I don't know that we need the receipt, but I know they're here at the request of Board of Selectmen. So I feel terrible. We're continuing on with our agenda so we can get to.
I think it really
Get to that.
stinks that it was set up as a joint meeting and
Mhm.
none of them showed up. So that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
This is why I really wonder why I volunteer my time.
We do have quite a few people here, but
And I hope a lot more heard what I just said.
I'm sure they did.
so, yeah, I just said. Recording device. Okay.
So this special town meeting warrant, is this new? They just put numbers in it.
They
Where they
put the
could.
numbers in it. This was finalized and posted on the 23rd, a week ago. So it was posted too late for us to review last week.
Right, I saw it after the day it came out. I just,
On town meeting day, we provide a recommendation sheet, so we read our normal is to go through and those articles that have financial impact, we make our recommendation. So then,
so we're not gonna talk about any cuts or anything tonight, am I correct? Because we're not aware of where we're really at.
we only have the last budget that was provided, which is,
Is that what we got here in the warrant?
it's very close. I think there's maybe 3 or 4 lines that are changed. Because it's not electronic, I have to go through line by line.
Right, so you don't know if there's any changes.
No,
And none of us do.
I can,
From the last
The night-
plus
The
that we
night
saw.
before again,
um,
the night of.
it could be,
Mm,
but we can,
that's a little tough. to
maybe when
take.
we get to it, I can use the subtotal lines and identify areas that may have changed and see if we can.
That should be brought out.
What do we have? Everyone, did you try to do a
There was-
10%
There was that request
request?
to see if departments could do that. There's been no changes,
Mhm,
nothing has been submitted that will change
I see.
the warrant article yet.
All right, so any changes in here we're not aware of. Nothing has been brought to our attention.
Nothing has been brought to our attention. And my conversation with Eric yesterday, nothing has
Changed.
Nothing has changed as a result. To date, of the requests that we've heard about. So,
You gonna join us?
I can. I
Yeah.
didn't know what
okay. We, right now, we were just moving into
Hey, Jazz.
I, we review the warrant articles, so do that, and we were just talking about changes, or no changes to.
We're
the
doing,
budget and the
you,
minutes.
okay,
So
so
we can go back in the agenda. And, we skipped over where we were here, which was item one, the joint meeting with the select. And I did not see any other selectmen online.
yes, I wanted to post that just in case one of them came in, because I didn't want to then pop in and then we had to,
And we had
not be
four
able
of
to.
them to do it.
Yeah.
Yep. So this is working session. For the selectmen. And finance committee.
we had an opportunity to meet with town council in regards to the town meeting and some protocols that we needed to get straightened out. So I wanted to make sure that we had that all set before. So I don't have your agenda in front of me, so we just,
It was relatively open. It was just to have the discussion. I wasn't sure there were no specific subjects. Or set review, so we can
okay,
look at,
any way we want, but we fall in those parameters.
Yeah.
All right, I just want to make sure that everybody, do you guys have the free cash amount that we have available?
I do.
Okay.
No.
Free cash amount is 379,327. Did you guys receive the letter from this, we sent out a letter from Nancy Haynes from North Middlesex. Did you guys get that?
No.
No.
And then you guys can pass that around real quick. They had a meeting, and they reduced their, assessment. The reduction is 300,000. The 300,000 is in general. So 300,000 from 1 point,
Was that on the state?
no, from North Middlesex.
Six?
So we're still,
so that would take it down to about,
yeah, you can, when you get it, you'll get the figures that I worked out with the town administrator. So it's not that big a reduction.
No, I didn't really expect a huge one.
Yeah.
I didn't either.
If I could just say something real quick, just to clarify, that
These guys don't know those numbers.
is from the total school budget.
Yeah.
So it's about 140,000 from Townsend's portion of the school budget.
Correct, yes.
So I'm sorry, I apologize. I just wanted to make that clear.
Oh, that's a good idea. That's a good.
It's in.
Oh, so that's reflects in this budget? The warrant budget?
I don't think, it's not in the warrant budget.
Okay, all right.
At this point, I think the warrant was supposed to be in
Yeah, that was posted a long time, last week, yeah.
We put in,
before this.
Eric, can you refresh me if I'm wrong, or correct me if I'm wrong? We put in the budget what what last year was plus a 3%.
No, so we in the budget, the numbers that are in the budget are the entirety of what they requested.
Mhm.
So
In the budget that's on the warrant?
Yes. on the
Correct,
warrant, yes.
okay, yeah, all right. So we can take that number off.
Don, you have a 2023. This is last year's budget you have up on.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry.
I wish that was the real number.
Yeah, me
I was
too.
looking
Had
at
me
it.
going.
Yeah, it kind of, sorry. I was comparing year over year and it was open recently. Thank you, Eric, for picking up on that. I really,
You would have seen it very quickly, I'm sure.
yeah. So the 4.2 is at least 24.
Yeah, here.
So if we're talking
Okay.
about that, it was,
See you talking about,
That's our version.
right, but take
and so we take
140 off of
hundred and
that.
forty thousand off
Still
that.
130, so, you know, it's not good.
Yes, we're still grossly imbalanced.
Right, it's still a 10% increase and the number is 1.32.
There,
Yeah. Well, ballpark, I'm rounding up a
correct.
little bit. Kinda. So just a little change. We know it's not regular, so,
What's the number
yeah,
on the
we need a
side?
little bigger.
What's the number on the side? Can you see it?
1.3, the actual's gonna be
No, on
1.3.
this side. So I can't see it.
Oh, I don't think his sheet would align with,
Oh, I think it is.
does it?
So,
Oh, I got
All
it.
right,
I've got it.
499.
I've got it.
You got it?
yeah. so
It does
line
line up. Okay, good.
Yeah.
So that'll become 1.3.
So what I did is I put in the number that is being subtracted, the 143.58 from there.
Mhm.
1,329,36. So that would be their number with their additional reduction.
Which doesn't really,
So instead of
Mm.
11.8, it's gonna be 10.
doesn't really help us out.
No,
Now,
it doesn't.
I wanted to be able to talk with everyone in regards to what your thoughts were of where do you want to go from here.
I guess with the budget and the operating budget, how far balanced are we with the particular numbers that we have in here? Because I would
Did I
think
write
we're
it
out of
down?
balance.
Where's the sheet?
It's still,
Derek, do you have that number on you?
I'm sorry, it was a little bit garbled. What number are we looking for?
We're looking for how much we're out of balance right now.
So it's the total of the two school budgets. So the increases in the two school budgets. So if you go
Right.
back up to the education budget,
Yeah.
it's that 1.32 million plus the 287,000. So 1.320 plus the 287. So what is that? 1.6, 1.6-ish, 1.61?
$1.5. Something like that.
if I do this right, yeah, 1.8, yeah, 1.693937. So we're gonna, 1,694,000.
Mm-hmm. So that's what we're looking at.
And we're in balance with everything else, in the budget
As far as the town?
as far as the
Yeah,
town.
so I mean, that's the,
It-
you know, the funding for the remainder of the budget is in balance, but obviously, you know, the $287,000 from Neshoba Tech, that override failed, we're gonna have to pay that because that budget is going to pass. They will get 5 towns to pass that budget.
Yeah.
So that's not a number that's gonna change. So we're gonna have to come up with a way to fund the Neshoba Valley Technical High School budget. And in all likelihood, we're gonna have to come up with a way to fund at least a portion of the North Middlesex budget. Now, I don't know. I know that there's a scheduled that Pepperell is discussing scheduling a second override vote
Mhm.
for mid-June.
Okay, yeah.
Ashby is also discussing having an override vote in early to mid-June. So I think Ashby's assessment didn't drop almost anything at all with the reduction from the schools, so they're still going to be the deficit they had before. And and it took about 170,000 off of the pepperell deficit. But they were already looking at almost a $3 million override.
Right.
But they're
So-
discussing having another override vote in June as well.
On the town side, to answer your question, we took into consideration we have the ARPA funded, which we have been incrementally putting into our budget, which those would be absorbed completely in the budget.
Correct.
All right, so that we don't have those outliers in that.
Mhm.
We also have, we have to stop and think that fire, we are getting a contribution from their ambulance receipts
Mhm.
that they're giving back to the town, which I think is important to note as well. The ask from all the departments, we did ask for them to be as lean as possible. Insurance came in higher than what we expected. What we expected, the 2.5% or 3%, kind of went up to 6% on other costs.
You said the fire department's giving us,
Oh, the ambulance fund.
The ambulance fund is
Right.
listed.
They've always been well,
Right.
they've always contributed well with
But
it.
they're contributing much higher than what they have in the past. Now,
Yeah,
their
I mean,
receipts
they
have-
make a lot of money, which is good,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, a lot of townspeople know, and it's a great service we got, but we have to pay, it's expensive.
It's
The whole, everything's expensive, whether it's for the town or for ourselves or for other companies. What do you do? What do you really do? Okay. It's apparent, to me, that there are gonna have to be some cuts made, because the town will certainly not pass another override for what we're looking at. It's not gonna happen. So, I guess we look to each other to try to figure out how to get this done.
So part of the reason why I wanted to talk to you guys is my thoughts. I'm not speaking for the board, I'm speaking for myself.
Sure.
Instead of looking at it as us versus them, school versus town, all of that
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
stuff, we're a community,
Yeah,
all right? We have services that we are providing for our residents. Each piece together is Townsend. It's not just the highway department and plowing, or the rec center takes care of the
Mhm.
kids. It's the rec centers taking care of the kids while the roads are being plowed by highway, while the library is doing all of their programming. The senior center is doing a phenomenal job with what they do. And I'll be honest, if you look at each department that's in here, they're really creating a very diverse programming
sure.
with
Yeah.
the money that they're getting. So I don't see excesses in any
Right.
of these departments. Taking one from another just to match things, I just don't think is right. So we need to look at it as the community.
right, exactly. But
it's-
we also need to look at it as, we have our elderly. I just became part of that recently, okay?
Congratulations.
Thank you. On elderly, but I'm retired. I just recently retired. We have a lot of people in town that have retired,
Mhm.
and they cannot afford this. I mean, I don't know. We all have to put a stop on our budgets too.
Mhm.
And everybody has to do that. We all have to contribute, the schools, the state. If I could speak about that quickly for one moment, the state, I was at the meeting you were at, the state has not changed their calculation for the contribution to our towns in many, many years. But at the same time, they insist upon mandates for teachers, for curriculums. They need to start helping.
Mhm.
My only hope is that the state will look at towns like us, like Groton, like Westford, like a lot of other towns that are even better off than us. They can no longer afford it. The state has to help us somehow. It is not our fault. We do all we can. We do the best we can for our town. But it has to come to an end because the well is dry.
Well, we
And I don't know how we make the state understand everybody's problem. That's all the same. You know, I just,
The conversations that that I went to a conference on Saturday down in Northampton. I think there's two avenues that Townsend would be flexible to go into. Number one is we're a rural town. We're considered a rural town. We're kind of like in the middle of, you know, the end of the Boston stuff and the beginning of the Western Mass considered rural, but we fit into the rural category. Part of the conference was to look to see, we need to define what rural means. As being a rural community, there has to be a stringent definition on what that means. It's very amoebic. It changes depending upon whether you're outside in the Quabbin area or here. Having said that, I think we have opportunities because we are closer to the city. I think that can be to our advantage. All right, voicing the opinions to the state rep, voicing our opinions to our senator, I think is important. We also have legislature that is being passed in the budget that I think will help us out. There's some transportation money for schools that's in there. There's
it's not going to help us this year.
it's not.
Right.
They have it in the fiscal year for 25, and I have a feeling it's past the House. It's going to go in the Senate, and it's going to
Will that change the budget?
it's going to go through. It's going to go
Yeah.
through all these kinds of
Yeah,
changes.
yeah.
So I'm resting on the same thought as you. I'm not going to.
Yeah.
I'm not.
I mean,
gonna-
I think that's where the issue lies with that problem, at least. I mean, we certainly support our schools the best we can,
Mhm.
but when other entities or whatever mandate things that we can no longer afford, they got to help. They just can't say do this and not help us. It doesn't work.
Right.
So then what happens? The town's in an uproar. Everybody's mad at each other. You know, is this what they want? I don't.
I honestly
You
think
know?
I honestly think that no matter what we do or what we decide to do, we're going to make
No,
somebody
yeah,
mad somewhere along
we
the
are,
line.
you know, it's.
My thought, we do have the municipal solid waste and recyclable material collection and disposal contract. Did you guys get copies of that?
Yeah, just recently. Was it 8 something?
It depends.
It depends on
Totally
totes,
depends.
no totes. Yeah, it's
Right.
about $100,000
So-
difference, I think.
Yeah.
What I did, just, pull it up.
Not 100, I'm sorry, 10. Didn't seem like a whole bunch more for the totes.
So it's less to include the totes.
It
Because
is.
It was less. Okay, then
It is.
I misread it. Okay.
What I have up here is column B's FY 25. If we get the toters, it's 892. If we don't do the toters, it's 926.
Okay, I
The
missed it.
difference of 34,000 a year if we go with the totes. And again, that allows them to have a one-man truck with automatic pickup. So I think that's where we're seeing the savings. What I tried to do here, and I cherry-picked the numbers. I only took the big contract.
Yep.
What's not included here is all of the containers that are spread around the town with their pickup prices. Because there are additional things in here. This is just the big, I'd call it the household pickup. And not the rest of the things that are in town.
Right,
That
the
really-
municipal
dumpsters and
buildings.
the-
Yeah.
The town hall one, the reading room, the library, all the ones that are around town.
Highway.
Yeah.
With one container, is that, so we're not recycling, is that?
No, I think it's 2 containers. That's
One
One
recycling and one
streaming or whatever
yeah.
you call it.
Yeah. Because they still want to change
And
it.
they provide the totes,
Mm-hmm.
because the
It-
machine
yeah.
has to have the same,
Same style, to be able to pick it up consistently. You can't have a piece out there.
And that's the big key to for Shaw's is to have the machine pick up the tote and put it
Sure,
into
yeah.
as opposed to having somebody on the back of the truck.
sure.
That's the liability.
And their contracts have those definite amounts for the first 3 years. When we get into year 4 and 5, they have market pricing on several lines. So what I've included here with asterisks and plus is just the line for the pickup, not the tonnage and the tipping fees,
Mhm.
because that says market price in the 4th and 5th year. So we don't have solid numbers for those yet.
Which means that we don't know what that's going to be.
We don't know what.
And
the
then
final-
if we agree to the contract, we're going to be tied into it, not knowing what that figure
No,
is.
no, that's not a good deal.
Have we broken that down as to what it actually costs per household?
I can give you a rough
Okay.
idea of it.
Um,
I was gonna say, how many households?
roughly 3,100.
a year, yeah.
So,
No, 3,100
So I'll just
households.
do-
Oh, three, oh,
yeah, so I mean, just quickly on math, I'll take the number and say it's 287 a year
Per household.
per household.
Yeah, I get roughly 292, and that's
Yeah.
roughly, if you want to break it down, to $73 per quarter.
Yeah.
So if you're looking at a comparison to the override figures and the trash contract,
Mhm.
it would be I figured at 292 a year.
And it could be because, again, this is just the top line
Right.
for the pickup. It's not the rest of the items in
Right, and of course it'll go up as you have it here, roughly.
Mhm.
Per year.
Yeah,
per year.
on the first three, I think will be the same.
why would they want you to sign a contract that long and not have the information for the last 3 years or 2 years?
Well, if I had a little exposure to some trash and recycling hauling,
Yeah,
tipping fees are going up. They can't predict 3 years out what the tipping
Yeah.
fees are gonna be. How much are they gonna have to pay to dump all the trash?
then don't
So-
offer it.
Well, but that's the piece.
Yeah.
You know,
that's-
it's kind of like so I think what they've offered is, this is what it will cost to pick it up, but we don't know how much it is. on the
Right,
other
and
end.
if you were to change from a 5 to a 3, they'd jack up the first 3.
Right. So
Right.
the Board of Selectmen was faced with, we get this an hour before we had to close the warrant. As far as the contract is concerned and the fact that it was going up to 5-year. Board of Selectmen can't sign a 5-year contract, so we had to put it on, we put it on the special meeting. So that's why, there's a special for a 5-year contract with totes and one without. So that's on the special, to let the town vote on what they want for that.
So then the waste is not in the budget then?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Or the total amount.
The total amount is.
Right, it's kind of like there is a number in there. I jump back here.
It's towards the end, isn't it?
Yeah.
So the decision is a 3-year or 5-year contract, and Shaw's would like a 5-year contract. So this is why we put it in.
And so we had 825 as the number, as the estimate
Yes.
going in.
So if that doesn't pass, as it shouldn't, because it's a 5-year contract with 2 years unknown, what do we do then?
Well, we would have to go back to Shaw's and say that the town has said that they want a 3-year contract, and Shaw's would have to.
And then we wouldn't have a budget still, but we have
That's
a
correct.
certain amount of time till then. Okay.
Right. We have until July, it's I guess the things that make me personally uncomfortable is there's a lot of moving parts to this right now that,
To the whole budget?
The whole
Yeah,
budget,
believe me,
you know.
I understand.
So I just want to be very clear that, I've gone over this budget more than I have ever gone over my own personal checkbook. And we are looking at every spot that we can cut. The most important thing, I guess, that I want to throw out is that it's going to depend on what the school comes back to us. If 2 towns do not agree with this recent,
And that's not till June, correct?
yeah, well, it'll be known in our town meeting whether or not we are going to approve that budget or not. If we're out of budget,
But we
if we're
can't
out of
approve
balance,
the school
Yeah.
budget. We can't, am I correct? That cannot be approved. It was voted against, so. So it looks like no matter what, we're not going to have a balanced budget for several reasons after this town meeting, which is okay,
Mhm.
but we're going to have several more. We're going to have a lot of work to do
Correct.
after that. Will we need another meeting to then? Okay. And that would be in August?
We will have to.
No, it wouldn't be in August. It would be in, oh boy.
Well, we have the selectmen, forecasted, I don't want to say had premonition, but we forecasted just in case we had to go to another ballot vote.
Yeah.
And the ballot vote we have set for June.
Okay.
Is that right?
And that would be
Eric,
for
right,
the
June
override
6th?
for the schools.
Oh, Eric's got his hand up.
Oh, sorry, we missed Eric.
No, that's okay. You guys are talking. I didn't want to interrupt.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there is a date that has been tentatively scheduled for a subsequent override for Townsend on June 11th.
June 11th.
Um,
Have
so
some
that
feedback.
just to be clear, there has not been a ballot question proposed by the Board of Selectmen yet because we were waiting for a subsequent budget from the schools to see if they'd lower the number. They did, but not a lot. We are still within the 90 days from the appropriation vote that we took at special town meeting in March,
Right.
which means we don't have to have that appropriation vote for the override in the annual town meeting. It already is in effect.
Yeah.
Even though we voted down an override once, you have 90 days within which to approve it, which is why we could still approve it on the 11th of June and harken back to that March 19th appropriation vote.
We could approve what?
Oh,
An override.
You know,
Oh, okay. I thought you meant the budget. Okay, yeah.
Or are we going to wait till June? Which are we going to do?
well, there's it's the trash contract is to me something that we would be able to make some changes on. If we made if the selectmen voted to impose the trash fee on there, that would free up that amount of money towards the budget.
Impose the trash fee. What?
The like I said, the 70.
This,
roughly
yeah.
$73
Okay.
a
Yeah.
quarter.
Okay. Yeah.
For each household.
Yeah.
And we would treat that the same way as if somebody didn't pay their water, it would be taken out of the tax levy anyway.
It would be considered a betterment on our tax bill.
Well, I didn't get the.
I don't think so, Andrea. I think we just treat it as an additional fee.
Oh, well, it's not a fee in the same sense that a fee for a permit is. It's an
Correct, or a
entirely
dog
different
license
thing.
or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So it is a betterment.
No, I don't believe this would be considered a betterment. I think it would be just considered a fee. I mean, it's not,
So
you're
it'd
right,
be
it's not the same as a permit
charge or-
fee, but it's a fee for trash service.
Right.
Okay.
And then we would, to be able to set that up, we would then need to have a conversation about setting up a revolving account maybe in the next year so that that money goes directly into the account. And then,
what do we do about those who do not pay their fee?
They don't get their trash picked up and it lands up in my lawn.
Yes,
no
but we
matter
were
what
still,
we have the-
I know.
we're still committed for a certain amount of money to pay off the contract. Where does the money to pay off the rest of the contract for those who can't pay come from?
Right, so
mean?
those unpaid
If everybody
permit fees
doesn't
would be
pay,
treated
we're
kind
not
of like
gonna shoot
unpaid
you, we can be
taxes,
short on that contract.
which means they'd still be a receivable that the town would hold. And then we'd have to, we'd have to contemplate the way to collect those unpaid fees. Generally speaking, we would likely roll those into a tax bill. So they would be on somebody's subsequent tax bill if they didn't pay them.
What if they refuse the service though? You're asking them to pay for something they don't, how does that work?
Sure,
Or
and so
does it?
that's
You
a
know what I'm
conversation
saying?
we'd have to have with Shaw's about if somebody opts out of the service, then our basic kind of the basic
Yeah,
fee would drop because they're going to be having to serve less households.
So, like I said, when we first started,
So let me get this straight.
it's going to be, no matter what happens, somebody's going to be upset about it.
Okay, so now we're looking at the contract for the $900,000, right? Or whatever it was. Okay. Now we're saying we're adding another $73,
No, taking that.
Taking it out.
taking it out.
So that line would be,
Okay, all right.
It would not be in the budget, or it would be in
It
the,
would be in the budget,
But
but
as
it's
a
be on the
contract.
front end as opposed to the back end.
All right.
With this elaborate system on trash, would it indicate that we would need another employee?
Not us.
Mhm.
for billing purposes? No.
Not really,
Building,
no.
collection, posting, whatever. The whole 9 yards of it.
No, we pay it on a monthly basis anyway now, I believe, right, Eric?
Yeah, but I think what Andrea's talking about is we're setting up a whole another fee collection process with residents to have to pay for their trash fee.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
I would anticipate that the treasurer's office could, with their current capacity, handle that. It likely wouldn't involve additional, a significant number of additional trips, because I think people would pay at the same time they're paying their other fees. But that's a good question, Andrea. Good something to think about.
Mhm. yeah.
Current staffing handle doing a whole nother fee process.
Hey, excuse me. Can it just be taken away from the citizens? I remember upwards of a decade ago, there was a great hubbub as far as trash changing in some way or another, and the floor was not very happy with that, and it was nothing like what you're talking about now.
So if the question is, can we just not have trash?
That seems to me that long before I arrived in Massachusetts, Townsend had a trash pickup that was part and parcel of the citizens' right as far as the government was concerned, the local government here. And I got that is definitely welded into my head, as I said, upwards of a decade ago, when there was a little discussion about trash and the way it was going to work. And the floor was very, very uptight about the whole thing. I don't remember the exact incident because it was a long time ago. I'm just looking at the citizenry saying, you just can't, take it away, especially seeing that 1,300 or we're going to be, in the 100 or 150 of the total citizenry is going to show up at the town meeting. And the most vocal ones are going to be there.
Did we get that on a 2.5 override?
We
Years-
did twice. We did 2 overrides for trash pickup. And whenever the question of getting rid of it and turning it up to each man to get his own, they bring up the 2 overrides for trash pickup. However, they were general overrides. So the money was not earmarked to go to trash pickup. It just became to increase our general funding.
Yeah, it wasn't
Yeah,
an
it went to the
earmarked
general
override. It
fund,
was
yeah.
a general override that just went into the general fund. And it was
Right.
associated with trash, but it wasn't promised to trash.
No,
So to answer your question, Sam, the answer is I have no doubt that there'll be a lot of people who will be very upset at this. We've talked to town council. The imposition of a trash fee is not something that requires town meeting vote. It is something the Board of Selectmen can do by themselves.
Ooh, that's gonna really burn some people.
I know.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's,
I'm not, I think
you're
it's
playing
Oh,
with gas. Really?
yeah,
Oh.
no, I'm not saying that this
We
is a
go
good thing.
forward
I'm
with
just saying that
with
that's the
another
mechanics of it.
override vote. I mean,
Right.
that's
Yeah.
where we sit.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, I also want to say that with cuts, it there are services that the town hall provides that the departments really don't have a lot to cut from. And
Oh, I get it. I know. I mean,
my concern is that, even roads and all of that kind of stuff, we can't address those, and we constantly hear about the roads. We constantly
well,
hear
we have an issue here in Townsend where we have no income other than our 2.5%.
Mhm.
A little bit the state gives us. What do we get from, was it Chapter 90? We get pretty much nothing from that. we don't have a lot of business in town. So we have no income. We're basically retired, okay?
Yeah, we're dependent
Wanna
on
look at
our
it that way?
income tax, or real estate tax.
Yes, yes. But I mean, we really just make a 2.5% income probably over last year's budget, if we even do that.
Yeah.
The ironic
And-
thing is that people think that they can't afford these things because of the inflation, but fail to realize that all the other people are also suffering from the inflation. So they have to raise their contracts, etc., in order to cover their costs. Inflation is a vicious, vicious thing.
I think no matter what, we're probably gonna have to go for another vote. Whether it fails or passes, I don't know, depends on how much it is.
Mhm.
If it doesn't change a lot, my opinion is it won't pass. So then where are we? I think even with a override that passes, because it'll be so low, we're still gonna have to cut.
No,
And I think we need to look at that seriously and hope we don't have to implement it.
Mhm.
Yeah. The one thing is that it would be better to go with an override than to have Ashby and Pepperell okay an override, and then we're stuck with it anyway because we raised.
I get you there. I get you there too.
That's what I'm most concerned about, Andrea.
Yeah,
But we have to make it, attractive is the wrong word, but we have to make it attractive to the town so that they'll accept that.
Mhm.
And we have to be able to explain it too.
Yeah.
We really do. What do we got, 7,000 people in town? That voters, something like that?
Yeah, something like
1,300
that.
voted for the fate of our town.
Yeah.
So people just don't, we've got to get it out to the people to understand. I mean, whether we send mailers out for other things. What if we just sent that out to every voter in town and said, this is serious, this is what we got. Come and vote,
Mhm.
come and vote, you know? I mean, 1,300 people to decide for a town of 7,000 voters, I'm just estimating, that's sad.
Yeah, it's 4,000 something. I forget what the.
Is it 4,000? I read somewhere 7, so I'm way off, I'm sorry.
Well, it depends. On the last, it said registered voters, 7,000.
Correct, right.
Total.
Yeah, so,
Is it 7,000
third- yeah.
votes?
that's what I read.
That's what I read on the results, the results form.
Right, there was 7,000, I thought right around 7,000 registered voters.
What's the
But people are so
population
misinformed until they feel unjustified, you know.
Yeah, somewhere in that range.
So I don't know. But I honestly think that we're gonna have to look at town cuts
We
too.
need to
We
look at
will.
it. One of the things we've been pushing. Every budget we've done in the last 4 years is just this year.
Mhm.
Get through this year.
Yeah.
We need to have this look of, if we do this, we won't be coming back for another.
Yeah.
Can it do it one and done, that we make sure we add in the additional ARPA year monies, because they're not all in.
Right.
The COA and the two other positions aren't fully funded this year. So the ARPA is still. funding.
Those are mistakes we've
So
made. in
those-
the past.
those are
We need
mistakes
to
we
not
made.
do that.
We have to
anymore. I'm
We
sorry.
have to come back that those positions are gonna need to be whole and paid by the recurring revenue. or
Correct.
taxes.
Correct.
So we need to take a look at that. My personal concern is what the future may hold. The Municipalities Empowerment Act
Mhm.
has some things in there. Don't know if we're planning to implement them. Kind of like, if we are, it's gonna feel like we're nickel and diamond.
Right.
It's kind of like, so I think we need the bigger picture of if we do the full budget and working out, we may or may not need, or if we need some of those revenue enhancements that are in, this is why we need them. It's gonna be applied and it's gonna go to pavement.
Mhm.
whatever, it's, make a full, open book presentation on, this is what the budget is, this is what the state has given us for powers going forward, and this is what we intend to do with them.
And this is part of the reason why I wanted to talk to you guys. We got to do this together.
Yeah,
You know,
sure.
The other thing we have to remember, it might be wise to show, is that if we lay off personnel, they're self-insured for unemployment, which is 22 months
Yep.
now, I think. And so you save some money, but not nearly as much as you think you will, because it comes out as unemployment then.
That budget's not fully funded either.
It's not.
It's not
It-
funded at all.
line is
Yeah,
Right.
we don't,
Oh, there we
we don't
go.
have any money in there.
It's not,
Yeah.
and the challenge we have on that front is if we cut hours, never mind a full layoff, if we cut hours, are people gonna look for jobs in other cities and towns in the local area where they can get hired full-time?
You know,
And it's kinda like
I
an
agree with that
outlook,
somewhat,
they have
other
work,
than
it's not getting-
all the other towns are just like us. We're all struggling. So who's looking for help? You know, I mean, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I don't at all.
No,
I
but
would never,
We'll know in July.
yeah, and I would never down anybody for doing better. But
it-
I don't think that towns are looking for people right now. I know they're all struggling, you know?
When we look at money budgeted for positions, how many times have we had to increase the money in the budget when we hired somebody because we couldn't hire at the price we had budgeted?
Right.
Correct. Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
That,
Yeah.
we need,
Yeah.
and that was why last year in the FY '24 budget, we started to put in the training into the budgets to try to.
For the other
for the,
departments.
for the other additional departments.
Yeah.
So we would be able to nurture and grow people into
Right.
position.
And I think that started working well, if I'm not mistaken.
We have several positions
Right.
that I think we did that option and it's working out really well.
Yeah,
Off the
absolutely.
top of my head, the accountant.
The
It's
accountant,
working out
Yeah.
fabulous, you know.
yeah,
And it also breeds a dedication for the employees. I think that's really important that we
Mhm.
need to do.
Yeah.
It's been difficult for us to keep up with the increases in other areas, but there's no, at least how I see it, there's no, you don't get one job and stay in it for 20 years anymore. It's very
Yeah.
fluid. You know, you work 2 years here, 1 year here. I mean,
that is how it is now.
you know,
It's true.
the job market. So, I know when in my position, my last position, we would hire somebody in a year, they'd be out with somebody else because they could get 12,000 more than what we were paying, you know, so. So I guess I wanted to kind of lay my cards on the table with you guys to let you know where we're at. You know, we're trying to, I've been working, pretty diligently with the town administrator and looking at areas that we can cut. I'm sure that I would like to be able to then come back together after our conversation here and you guys look at your numbers and the select board, I'll task them to be able to look at what's going on there and maybe we can come to some agreement. Shed some light on the trash contract is where I'm seeing, you know, that there's some, you know, it's unfortunate and it's going to be a lot of controversy, but you know, we've got to do what we need to do. I had a conversation with Dawn and I'm going to lay it out here is that because of our population, we do have an aging population. We have to be very careful in regards to both police and fire in regards to how those are funded because our ambulance calls and the police calls have been on an increase. And if you look at statistics on an aging population, those calls are going to be going up as well on a continual basis. So we need to make sure that we're not hurting ourselves in that respect because we have to make sure that our public safety is funded enough so it's going to be in balance with what we have.
But we also have to keep in mind that our schools need to keep up to a certain standard also.
I agree.
Of
Because
course,
if you
but
don't keep your schools up to a certain standard,
yeah,
you're not gonna get people to come, you're not gonna get business to come.
I agree.
People will not look at it totally differently, you know.
Well, we're doing now. I agree with you, and let's look on the other side of it. Look at some of the things that we're doing now that is going to be able to enhance the people coming in here to spend some money.
Correct.
You know, the what's going on in the historic district to me is very exciting. I've been looking forward to that for about 10 years.
Yeah.
You know, there are you know, some things with the current businesses that we have in town. I do have a concern. There is an article that's on here that they're looking to take an industrial piece of land out on Greenville Road and turn it into residential. Maybe we need to look at talk with zoning and see if we can get another area zoned for industrial. There are some agricultural avenues that I think we can look at. The selectmen agreed to start the agricultural committee back up. Maybe there's some you know, revenue we can look in there to see what we can do to try to enhance businesses to come in here. But I would like to do the opposite. Instead of sitting in a dirty diaper and complain about it, I'd rather be able to, you know, go out and do something about
Right.
it.
Oh,
you know?
sure.
And that's where I think our opportunity is. Now, having said
May I
that,
ask a question? The industrial land that's going to go to resident, or is pending going to residential
mhm.
on Greenville Road, is that to comply with that mandate from the state because of the MBTA?
That has nothing to do with the MBTA.
But would it
Oh,
help?
All right.
No, it-
Because we had to submit a plan because we are in touch with Shirley, and they said that we had to submit the plan. However, it probably won't go into effect, but you know the state.
Can I answer that?
Yeah, you
Not
can.
something you should take confidence.
MBTA communities has come up several times.
So there will be a handout or a flyer at town meeting that land use has worked up. There's been 3 sections of town that have been identified for a possible MBTA area. And you're absolutely correct that we just have to plan for it. We have to have a plan for it on the books. We don't have to develop it. So you're absolutely
until the state mandates that we do. And
Correct.
you know that's not an unheard of thing.
Yeah.
No, but is it Milton or is one of the towns that just voted it down? They did not
Was there
accept
one or
it.
two? I thought there was 2
There
going
was a
to.
second one coming.
Yeah.
But what happened was the state pulled back.
All the
grants
funding.
That it had been
Yeah.
allocated. So that's a piece.
Babies.
There's
Yeah.
there's a trade-off of those pieces.
And we Townsend have been very active in the grant department. We've pulled in millions of dollars in the last 2 years, thanks to some very adept employees and elected officials to be able to get these grants to pay for, you know, to get drop. I'll say the rail trail is number 1. Number 2 is what's happening in the historic district. There's some sidewalk work that's going to be done that we had with the rail trail, but that's enhancements for town and our infrastructure. There's a bridge that you know, we're needing to get replaced.
Sit on Greenville Road.
That
Mhm.
bridge is going to be replaced. That's all grant money, and those are all the things that we've been working towards. We have an infrastructure for broadband. There's you know, if we get the grant for to look more into strengthening our infrastructure, that's going to be able to promote more businesses to come in here. You know, so I'm not here to sprinkle, you know, I'm not sprinkling sparkly stuff. I'm just saying that we're on the right path. You know,
Yeah.
it's just that
Oh,
we need to
definitely.
get over I'd like to be able to say, instead of saying, well, we can't do that, it's like, what do we need to do to move forward? Let's continue to move forward. And I believe that, and again, I'm not speaking for the board, but I believe that the board would agree with me that we are making great strides in what we're doing right now in town. And we need to continue that to be able to kind of fund the things that we want to be able to do.
You know, I agree with you wholeheartedly and moving forward. But the one thing one has to remember, that when one moves forward, like sidewalks, then you have a maintenance problem that's got to be addressed somewhere along the line. Moving forward does entail costs. Maybe even if you got the project by a grant, maybe not right now, but certainly something that should be remembered for the future. And I think that's one reason why we have to work very diligently to get a 5-year plan.
Look at all of our gifts.
Yeah.
And
Well, I didn't want to go there.
no, but it's,
We would be in a very difficult situation if we didn't have what we had.
Oh,
Upgraded
absolutely.
fire department, a brand new library. brand new
but we
senior
have to, years down the road, we have to take care of them.
If you look at
Which
some of
is
the
not a
grants
problem.
that we're applying for now, there's a
Mhm.
contingency that they're adding to it for maintenance, for sustainability.
That's
And-
nice.
and
That's
that's-
perfect.
Yeah, now they are. So
Yeah.
anything that we've had in the past is just like, okay, we got to build.
Yeah,
Now
exactly.
but-
Yeah.
but
No,
I agree
that's
with you,
good.
Andrea,
That's
in that
good.
respect. So, the planning, I think, is getting much better in town, at least the 3 years, previous to that, because I've been working with the Housing Authority and planning, and we are looking more towards planning something and then following through with that planning. I think we're getting much better at that. We need all hands on deck, Andrea. That's all I'm trying to say.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah. So that's all I wanted to talk with you guys about. If you had any other questions for me on any of the articles that we have.
So really, there's nothing more that we can do until after town meeting. Am I correct?
Well, Eric,
Yes. No, are you talking about what more we can do?
yeah,
Um,
before town meeting.
yeah, so I mean, we're gonna try and look at the goal in asking departments to make this to show what a 10% cut would look like was to see whether or not some of those cuts were realistic. I think that a lot of them are going to be unrealistic. And they're going to involve losing staff or losing services that are unacceptable. But there may be some things that we can do then with those proposals that are realistic. So we can try to put that plan in the wings and say, if there's no override, then we're going to have to go to plan B, which involves having a discussion about the trash and having a discussion about the cuts and seeing where that puts us in a financial situation, and then going back to the schools and saying, this is it. This is all we have. And it's not going to be, there's no way we're coming up with $1.5 million for North Middlesex between cuts and trash. It's just not going to happen. But can we come up with 600,000? Maybe. And then we go to the schools and we say, this is what we have. That's where you need to come in at. And so that's I think what we need to be working on between now and June 11th, when another override vote takes place. And if the override vote happens, then the budget is balanced. If the override vote doesn't happen, then we have to pull out plan B, which is, what are these cuts? Do we have to have a discussion that's more specific about trash? And what do we do and what do we tell the schools about? This is the absolute most we can afford. We're not going any higher.
So is this information we have at town meeting, what these proposed cuts will be if we don't pass the budget? Is that how it's going to work, or?
I don't think that's something we would bring up at town meeting. We can't.
Okay.
The town meeting budget is the budget, assuming an override. passes.
Yeah, all right, yeah, okay. All right.
I don't want the town meeting to vote on a budget with cuts that if an override passes, we wouldn't need.
Right.
And I don't want them to think that these cuts are something that, you should just make these cuts. I think that every department was asked to come in with a lean budget. So I think the cuts are going to be painful to departments and to services. And
We have to know what they're going to be if we have to do it.
yeah, we have to know. But I think the we that has to know is the Board of Selectmen and the FinCom as we get to the override vote to know what our next step will be afterwards. What is our plan B?
Because expenses were as best they were level funded year over year.
Right.
There were certain contracts and other requirements and assessments that came in that had to go up because of formulas that are applied on the department. So as best we could, now you're talking where the increases is the labor. And if you, according to the contract we have, you can't cut union, there's the step in the COLA year over year. The only thing you can do is cut hours. Now, if you cut hours, you're cutting services. Where are you going to cut them?
Correct.
And,
Yeah.
and where are they? You know, how do we?
So I guess in the end, we're gonna need to know that. That's why it's,
Yeah.
And
And we'll have a better idea of where the legislature is going to, with what they're funding for their budgets as well.
and you had said something about transportation possibly.
They're looking to add more money. Well, it came out of the House. It needs to go into the Senate, but coming out of the House, they did add more funding to transportation for schools. They did add more money for funding for per pupil. There are some increases in the UGA, the undefined. There's money there that is increasing on what we've got in the past.
Mm-hmm.
It just depends on what goes through the House and how it gets changed. You know, so part of the conference that I went to on Saturday was, you know, our rural towns going, do you think this is going to go through? And they're all like, I don't know.
Yeah.
This is what it is. But I do say that we do have a strong voice with our representative and our senator and the representative and senators out in the rural communities out in Western Mass. They're hearing us loud and clear that, you know, we're struggling out here and we need to have, you know, more funding come out here as opposed to, you know, what's on the other side of the 495 belt.
Mm-hmm.
So any questions on any of the articles that I can answer for you guys on the? And Eric, if you have anything else that I forgot?
No, I think you touched on it all.
I guess maybe a question, just looked at Article 10 for 35,000, and on the special.
Yeah.
35,000 from ambulance receipts. Is this in addition to the 700,000 that are listed in the?
What article is that?
It's Article 10 in the special,
In the
so the
special.
small,
Oh, pass.
That's
So,
ambulance.
yeah.
Just Don, that 35,000 is a current fiscal year transfer. So that's to go in to help fund the we bought the heavy rescue vehicle with ARPA funds. This $35,000 is going to help to equip that heavy rescue vehicle. It does not impact the $700,000 that's coming out for next fiscal year.
That's not the Jaws of Life?
Yeah, I think there was a new set of Jaws. I believe they got a new set of Jaws of Life.
Put in the new truck.
The battery operated ones. Yeah.
But I read an article that was donated by somebody else. I have an article that says it's donated.
So this article, it says it's taking it from ambulance receipts.
It's within their department, and it's to fund this year's. It's not just that; it's other equipment because they bought the truck, and there's no emergency. There's no emergency equipment there, and they're putting emergency equipment in that.
Because they came to,
That was capital.
that was capital
Right.
that they
That
came
didn't
to,
come to
yeah.
400 and
Yeah, they came to Capitol and they were rejected. I
Oh, I don't know. I don't remember that.
Let me rephrase that. They came to Capitol. The Capital Planning Committee said, we think that might be a good idea and put it forward. And the Board of Selectmen said, no, the fire department's got a lot of capital expenses. We need to fund the other departments. You need to find another place to fund it for.
I thought they were gonna do ambulance funds and car capital, but that's what I
Yeah,
thought.
they're going to do it with ambulance funds and existing general funds.
I don't have the paperwork, Jerry, on what exactly it's for, but I can send it to you once I can do that.
So I guess, is this equipment that's already purchased and in-house? And,
Sounds like some of it is.
yeah.
Well, we know the boat was, and we know the
The
but,
jaws of life, the battery operated.
Well, we
jaws
don't know
of
about the,
yeah,
Yeah,
but,
no, we
but the question is, what's the process and is, when a purchase comes in and we had a municipal budget and somebody wants to buy equipment and it comes in, it is gonna be a bill in this year, or is this saying we're gonna go out and buy?
It wasn't
after we
budgeted for
approve
this
it?
year.
Right, so it wasn't budgeted, there's no place in the budget for it. You can't really take a line negative. Is there a process that stops
I think that's what I
seven
want to know.
department heads?
But, yeah,
Yeah, is there a process that stops seven department heads from going out and spending 35,000 each and then trying to come in and find a place to pay for it?
Doesn't sound right.
Yeah, now, ambulance is one thing, but where
where do we get the-
what's the process? How was it acquired? Was there a purchase rec that came in and purchased through a purchase rec to an account that had to be paid for? Did we follow proper municipal accounting practices in order to get that equipment? If it wasn't followed, how are we going to correct it to make sure it doesn't happen in the future? And like, those are the pieces that I really have with it, that
You kind of throw a wrench in the budget too.
Mhm.
You know?
it could, if there was an ambulance receipt, if it was a different department that did this, I don't think it's a good thing. It's kind of like, I don't think it's solid municipal, how budgeting is supposed to work and how expenses work. If you're gonna go out and overspend a budget, usually that's a special town meeting and there's a warrant article that comes in. And so I guess it's the timing thing. If we're going out after this and using FY '24 funds to buy something, that's one thing. If it's already been bought and we're paying for them, it's kind of like, it's a.
When it wasn't in the
excuse me.
budget.
Yeah, I didn't know. It's kind of like, I'm not sure it's, I'm not sure it's, proper practice to follow that. So I want to make sure that, we don't get ourselves into a trap that people say, hey, just look at this loophole. I can go out and overbuy.
Right, that's gonna, so what would you like me to do? Do you want me to?
It's evaluate the process. It's like anything I would do as an auditor coming in. If we get to the FY '24 audit and the auditor picks this purchase order, did we follow proper practice? Or are we going to get written up for dinged for it?
And it's just, again, it could throw a wrench in the budget at times.
At times, if we didn't have that amount of free cash.
Right, and why are we spending free cash on that anyway?
If not, that's
I
I
shouldn't
not
spend.
available funds in the treasury. To ambulance receipts, they're asking to spend ambulance receipts to
Right.
pay for
So-
that.
It's
there's
actually their money.
Right.
Yeah,
It is, but again.
but I understand what you're
It's kind
saying.
of like, are they approved to spend ambulance funds? I guess
it's a
if they're allowed to spend ambulance funds, then is there really a need for a warrant article? It doesn't sound like it, if they're able to just take them and use them for anything.
Right,
That makes,
This is
right.
yeah,
asking for
yeah.
approval after is it an after the fact?
Mhm.
I bought this and now I want to pay for it. Can you it's
Help me out here.
asking- Yeah, it's asking for forgiveness rather than, do we have a process in place that's going to prevent bad things from happening in the future?
So you want to evaluate the process as far as
Evaluate
the process.
the
I think the process is.
Purchase for, yeah, the whole purchase to, payment, we allocate money for new equipment every year. We have capital planning every year. And allocate where the money's coming from, whether it's ambulance receipts, general fund, or the operating budget. We just need to have,
Yes, it is.
make sure we don't find a hole in the process. My example is we set up a system. It's kind of like, and it said discount. Well, people found out if you put a positive number into the discount line, you can surcharge.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, so there was a problem in our process. We didn't limit that discounts had to be negative numbers rather than positive numbers.
Mhm.
So we had to go in and block holes and prevent that from happening again.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah. And that's all I'm looking for here is, can we see the sequence of events, how it happened? And is there a way to, if there was an issue, prevent it from happening again and follow the.
Boy, those last few storms got us, huh?
Yeah.
Holy.
Well, I've seen bigger numbers.
Oh, yeah, but I thought we had a real nice winter.
Yeah, so 159 isn't bad. We did,
No.
there was a little bit more money that was put in there this year, but,
Yeah.
when you look at the salt number again,
Yeah.
line again, salt is doing nothing but going up.
Yeah.
Kind of like, so it's kind of, I don't know if snow and ice is, going up again.
Bruins are coming on.
Yeah,
I'm kidding and I'm not.
but it's kind of like, it's pretty, the snow and ice budget looks pretty level funded here. So, kind of,
Did we want to go through these tonight? We're meeting again Thursday?
we're gonna meet again Thursday, so
Are we making recommendations tonight or are we gonna do that
at this
Thursday?
point, we're at 7:30, I think. We'll postpone till, we'll do that on Thursday. Continue.
And that should go pretty
That's the one.
pretty
That should go
quickly
pretty
too.
quick. We've all got copies of them, so we can take a look.
And if you would like me on Thursday, you know,
Okay, it's the 4:00.
yeah, I'm not sure when Teresa's getting back.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that I touch base with you guys so that we're.
Thank you, Chad.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's kind of like, and it's now your 7:30.
Yeah,
Took you right up to 7:30.
there you go.
Oh, you got another meeting? All right. And what else would be on the agenda then? Probably nothing, do you think? Or we won't have any information.
I'll talk to Eric and see if.
Yeah,
there's
okay,
anything. And
okay.
in the meantime, I'll continue to work on the 5-year rollout. It's kind of like, because I've got the expenses and labor
Mhm.
rolled out with the examples. I don't have the revenue side rolled into it yet. It's kind of like, so let's see if we can start looking at the
Okay,
5 years. So I'll continue to work with Eric.
that's going well. You're
Yeah.
doing a really
Yeah,
nice job.
The other pieces with that, we, on the annual, I'll see when, the accountant gets back in, because we had talked about taking and validating all of the revolving.
You're right.
It's kind of like, and see what the revenues
See
are,
where
what
they're
the
at.
expenses are, because for the last 2 years, we've taken the revolving accounts and upped them within a month of having done these at the town meeting.
Right.
So that's a piece. And of course, now I'm gonna, the town clerk's election budget. It's kind of like, it's on the special, and I understand what we're doing. We're setting up an extra step every year or every 2 years to make sure that there's gonna be enough money in a budget line for carrying it forward. So I don't know if we want to do that, or if we want to understand that, we're there, or does it become a revolving account in that we set it up because the early voting for state primaries and presidential primaries is reimbursed, and the mailing for mail-in ballots is reimbursed by the state. It's kind of like, if we set up an account so we can pay for it this year and use the rebates and put it into a revolving account for town clerk, it then becomes the election revolving account, and she only needs to look at it during her annual budget to say, yes, it's a 4-year, it's a 4-election year. I need to bump it up, or it's fine because of the reimbursement.
Right.
I'm just not sure yet. It's kind of like, this is 1 year, and it, for the 1 year, maybe it makes sense to do it, but looking forward, how best to have it as the operating part, a continually operating piece.
I agree.
And again, that to me can all change. It's kind of like that's something that's 2 years out. What happens if there's nobody that runs for town clerk in 2 years?
Right.
Plus,
Chaz can do that.
no, it's
I'm good for the,
it's just, it's a future, it's a future consideration. On the what if scenarios, what are we gonna do if,
Nobody goes.
well, and that's the thing, we're setting it up as a warrant article and we have to pay for elections.
Yeah,
So
well,
is that
that's-
really the right way to do it?
Do
And
we,
that's
does this
why,
include that probably second override? I would assume Kathy did that.
no,
yeah,
because
In the 22?
the second
The
override
vote.
is in FY 24 because
Right.
it's June.
Oh, that's right, okay,
So-
all right, yeah,
We
yeah.
never know
okay.
what year we're in. It's
Yeah,
like-
no, fiscal year, that's
Yeah.
right, yeah.
We're constantly on that fence.
Sure, yeah.
We're in 24, half of the year is fiscal year 24, half is 25. So this is funding the state primary and the presidential election for
From, yeah,
September and November of this year,
right,
where the rest of the budget is paying for the special town meetings, the annual town meeting, and the town election in April.
and if we
So-
have to have an extra vote.
And if we have to have an
For
extra
the
vote.
right, okay, got it. Got it.
So that becomes the hard part, because I'm not, I'd have to check. If we're getting refunded by the state, is it going into an account already, or is it just going into general fund? That,
Correct.
so it's kind of like we have to look at where it is. So
I will say we're in much better shape knowing where things are coming in and going out than we
Right.
were.
So that's just the piece of that. It's kind of like, I like what we're doing, trying to flatten and do a standard budget, but we are always going to have, every 2 years, we're going to have more than just the annual, in just the towns and elections. It's kind of like, so we have to pay, do that and have the planning for it.
And you gotta include the mail-in balloting, the absentee, all of that stuff, that
Right.
costs us a lot of money.
Exactly. So right now, what we did this year is we had no mail-in ballot, only absentee ballot for the town election.
Right.
And that was voted only for this year. I don't think it's an ongoing.
So we only did it because we just don't have the money.
Exactly, yeah, I get it, I
So
remember that.
as we go forward, that becomes part of the planning.
Yeah.
If it's not there, it's got to be voted again, and passed again, then early voting for town election or for town voters. Okay, sorry.
No,
There's, like I say, there's a lot of different, there's moving parts everywhere, and it's kind of like, and if we're setting them up, I want to try to make sure it's repeatable year over year.
I feel like I'm trying to run underwater.
Yeah.
That's the way it feels right now.
just don't
Sure,
breathe.
yeah.
All right.
Okay, so, I guess we're set. There was no the only correspondence was the reserve fund transfer, which we reviewed earlier. Other than that, that the next meetings that we have is Thursday, May 2nd, and then the annual town meeting following that. So if there is anything, we have time to squeeze something in Monday.
Let's hope not.
We hope not, but
We've done it before.
we've done it.
Oh,
before.
yeah.
An hour before the meeting, so.
It's kind of like, but we have time to post and we'll know that on Thursday. So with that,
I have a question.
Yep.
So we're right down to the wire now.
we are.
How are we going to handle our recommendations for this budget?
On Thursday, we're gonna go through the warrants and hopefully, budget, I don't know how we're gonna handle it, because the budget,
Okay,
It's
Thank you.
unknown.
it's kind of like, I know.
Just like last year.
Yeah,
And the year.
Well,
And the year
it's-
before.
it's,
but
there's a number of things on there that I don't approve of, that I don't think are necessary.
Mhm.
and that we could be rid of. But I know for the good of the all and the way it fits together, they've got to be there, you know. So if you asked me and we were just talking in a room, I'd say I don't recommend it. But for the overall good, you do recommend it. So I have no idea how to handle my opinions to get this thing out and viewed.
Okay. Okay, well, a couple of meetings ago, I had brought up the format, for how we were gonna review the budget and review our comments. So I think
With the little comments over at the side.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's kind of like, so I think we can still do that. And I know in the past, sometimes we have made it conditional. If this happens, then we support the budget. If it doesn't happen, we had put in some wording that would try to be flexible with how it was presented, because we do have to print and have them revealed in advance and have them. So I think we can still put your concerns down. We can put all of the, as we talked about, the summary in each of the sections, whether it's by grouping, either department grouping, or whether it's just general government, and all the questions that we may have at that with that section of the budget, and list them if they're questions, or or if we don't have any questions or issues with it, then we can recommend the budget as it stands. But I'll make sure, I'll work with Eric and make sure I have absolute
The updated.
the updated one, because again, even my numbers that I put together from reading the contracts for trash aren't accurate, because I didn't have enough time to pull out all the details and do the multiplication for all the pickups, because it's 140 each pickup, but it's 12 pickups because it's the monthly. Sometimes it's summer, so there's 3. It's going to be it's kind of like, so there's a lot of math that goes with those numbers to come out with what the final number is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
So there's still work to be done there. Did that answer it, Andrea, or did I just mess it up?
No, you're always good. Thank you.
Okay, at this point, 7:40 p.m. I entertain a motion to adjourn, and I apologize, the audience is here, and we didn't get to any input from them or anybody that had dialed in online. So,
All right, I will
appreciate
make a
your time.
motion
Yep.
that we adjourn at 7:40 p.m.
We had a motion and a second. Finance Committee, roll call vote, please.
Jerome Bezikas, yes.
Mark Hussey, yes.
Andrea Wood, yes.
Sam Grant, yes.
Don Hayes, yes. That's unanimous. We stand adjourned.